The laughter was a physical thing, a wall of sound that hit me in the chest as I stood frozen in the grand, overlit kitchen of my cousin's McMansion in Scottsdale, Arizona. My hands still damp from washing the last of the crystal dessert plates, the sequins on my simple black server's dress, the uniform for the high-end catering company I worked for, itched against my skin, a cheap costume in a house of real wealth. It was my Aunt Cynthia's 50th birthday gala, and my mother, Eleanor Vance, had secured me this job, not as a guest, but as help. "It's perfect for you, Maya," she'd said, her voice all false brightness. "You get to see how the other half lives, and you're actually useful for once." So there I was, 22 years old, invisible, refilling champagne flutes for my smirking cousins and their polished friends. The humiliation was a slow burn until the moment it exploded. I was carrying a heavy tray of empty glasses back to the kitchen when my mother's voice, sharp and clear, cut through the jazz quartet. She was holding court by the infinity pool, surrounded by her sisters and their successful husbands, gesturing vaguely in my direction. "Oh, that's Maya," she said, a dismissive laugh like tinkling ice in her tone. "My daughter. The professional student of life, or something equally vague. She's working this party. As you can see, practically in uniform already, though not the kind anyone respects." My aunt chuckled, and my mother leaned in, her voice dropping to a stage whisper everyone could hear. "Between us, I think she has a little fantasy about wearing a real one, a police uniform or something. She watches those shows. She's always been a dreamer, utterly impractical. This is probably her ceiling, serving people who actually built something." The words, "her ceiling," hung in the perfumed air, a life sentence. My cousin Brad, a newly minted hedge fund analyst, called out, "Hey Maya. Officers give orders, they don't take them. Maybe stick to the tray." And the group erupted in fresh, cruel laughter. In that moment, under the harsh Arizona stars, I shattered. The tray in my hands trembled, the glasses chiming a pathetic counterpoint to their joy. I didn't drop it. I didn't scream, I just stood there, a statue of shame in a server's dress, feeling the hot tears well and spill over, tracing paths through my carefully applied makeup. I was not a person to them. I was a punchline, a cautionary tale, a prop to highlight their own success. The dream I had nurtured in secret, to serve my country, to wear a badge with honor, was mocked as a child's fantasy. My deepest ambition reduced to a punchline next to the guacamole bar. I turned and fled to the stifling hot catering truck parked behind the manicured hedges. And there, amid the smell of stale grease and despair, I sobbed, great, heaving sobs that felt like they were tearing my soul from my body. The weight of a lifetime of never being enough. Not smart enough like my brother, not pretty enough like my cousins, not ambitious enough in the ways that mattered to them, crashed down. And I broke, completely and utterly. But from the wreckage of that broken girl, as the tears slowed to a cold, numb trickle, a new resolve was born, hard and quiet as a diamond forming under pressure. I would vanish, not with drama, but with silence. I would erase myself from their narrative and build a life so formidable, so anchored in respect and authority, that the very symbol of their mockery would become my undeniable truth. And one day, they would see it, and they would understand the colossal scale of their error, not through my anger, but through the sheer, towering reality of my achievement. That night, after the last guest left, I changed out of the server's dress in the truck, left it in a heap on the passenger seat, and with the $200 in tips in my pocket, and a duffel bag of my real clothes I'd hidden in the bushes, I started walking. I walked until I found a seedy motel on the outskirts of Phoenix, paid for a week with cash, and slept for 16 hours straight. Upon waking, the plan was simple: disappear and rebuild. I used a public library computer to close my social media, shut down my old email, and sever every digital tether. I bought a cheap, pay-as-you-go phone with a new number. I was now a ghost. My first stop was Las Vegas, not for the casinos, but for the constant economy of service jobs that asked no questions. I got a job as a night cleaner in a vast, echoing convention center, mopping floors under the garish neon glow that filtered through the windows. The work was lonely, my body ached, and the silence was punctuated only by the whir of floor polishers and the distant echo of slot machines. I rented a cot in a shared house with other transient workers, my world reduced to the smell of bleach and the relentless sun. By day, I slept fitfully. By night, I worked, and in the stolen hours of dawn, I studied. I had saved the PDFs of the requirements for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service and the U.S. Capitol Police. My new Bible. I trained my body in the empty, pre-dawn parking lot of a 24-hour gym, running until my lungs burned, doing calisthenics on the slick asphalt. The hunger was constant, for food, for rest, for a kind word. But I fed only the hunger for progress. After 6 months, I moved again, drawn to a city of structure and history, Washington, D.C. The bus journey was long, the nation unfurling outside my window, a testament to the America I wanted to be a part of, not serve at a party. In D.C., I found a basement apartment in a rough neighborhood, its tiny window at sidewalk level. My first job was as a security guard at a dreary federal office building. The pay was better, and the uniform, though cheap polyester, felt like a step closer. I stood for hours in a sterile lobby, checking badges, my mind drilling case law, criminal procedure, and the intricacies of the U.S. Code. I enrolled in online courses in criminal justice from a reputable university, paying in painful, hard-saved installments. I lived on rice, beans, and a fierce, grinding determination that was my only companion. The loneliness was an abyss. Holidays were the worst. Sitting alone in my basement with a microwave dinner, listening to the sounds of families above, the temptation to call home, to hear a familiar voice, was a physical ache. But I remembered the laughter by the pool, the words, her ceiling, and I would open my textbook, the words blurring through unshed tears. This was my penance and my forge. After 2 years of this monastic existence, I earned my associate's degree. It was not celebrated, but it was a brick in my foundation. I leveraged the security job to apply for a better one. As a contract surveillance specialist for a firm that worked with the Department of Defense. It was mundane work, logging vehicle movements, writing dry reports, but it gave me a clearance, a foothold in the world I coveted. I performed with robotic perfection. My reports were flawless, my dedication absolute. My supervisor, a retired Marine named Frank, noticed. He began giving me more complex tasks, then mentoring me quietly. "You've got a spine of steel, Vance," he'd grunt. "And you see things most people don't. You ever think about federal law enforcement?" It was the first external validation I'd had in years, and it fueled me like rocket fuel. I applied for and was accepted into a bachelor's program at a DC university, majoring in Homeland Security. For the next 3 years, I existed in a vortex of work, study, and training. I slept in 4-hour shifts. My social life was the library. My friends were the baristas who knew my order and my schedule. I became an expert in my own transformation, a project manager for the creation of my Advance 2.0. I graduated with honors. The ceremony was attended by no one. I sat in my cap and gown on a park bench afterwards, the diploma heavy in my lap, and allowed myself 5 minutes of silent, tearless pride before the next goal loomed. The United States Secret Service Uniform Division. It was a pathway, a chance to wear a prestigious uniform and protect the heart of American democracy. The application was a gauntlet of fitness tests, written exams, polygraphs, and panel interviews that probed every corner of my isolated life. When asked about family estrangement, I was calm, factual. I am self-sufficient, sir. My focus is on the mission. My past has taught me resilience, not resentment. The call came on a Tuesday, a formal voice offering me a position in the Uniform Division training program. I was in my tiny kitchen, and my knees buckled. I slid down the wall, phone clutched to my ear, and cried silent, shuddering tears of release. The first door had been kicked open. The training was merciless. A baptism by fire in firearms, defensive tactics, emergency medicine, and ceremonial protocol. We drilled in the cold Virginia rain, marched until our feet bled, and were broken down to be rebuilt as protectors. I embraced every second of the pain, for here, the uniform was sacred, earned through grit and grace. The day I was sworn in, standing on the parade field at the James J. Rowley Training Center, the badge heavy in my hand, I felt a seismic shift within. The ghost of the girl in the server's dress was gone. Replaced by Officer Maya Vance, my first post was at the White House, an assignment that filled me with a profound, solemn pride. I stood guard at the gates, my uniform immaculate, my bearing erect, my eyes missing nothing. I was part of the fabric of American power, not serving canapés, but safeguarding its very seat. I earned a reputation for preternatural calm and sharp observation. I advanced, studied more, took every promotion exam, and slowly, steadily, climbed the ranks within the division. I bought a small, tidy condo in Arlington, a home that was peaceful and mine. The silence there was no longer lonely. It was the silence of hard-won peace. I made a few close friends among my colleagues, bonds forged in shared purpose and understood sacrifice. But my past remained a closed book. Years passed. I was promoted to sergeant, then to lieutenant. My responsibilities grew. I helped plan and execute security for major events. My advice was sought. My authority was real. The uniform was no longer an aspiration. It was my skin, my identity. And then, the opportunity arose. An interagency liaison position was created, a role that would involve brief, high-level coordination with private sector security for major national events. The first event on the roster was the annual National Governors Association Winter Gala, a black tie affair held at a historic hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. The irony was not lost on me. It was a cosmic stage, set with perfect, painful precision. I was assigned as the lead uniformed Secret Service liaison for venue security integration, a role that put me in a command position, interacting with hotel management, local police, and the event's private security team. The team hired by the event planners was, of course, the most prestigious firm in the Southwest, the same one my cousin Brad, now a security consultant, after his hedge fund folded, had bought his way into as a VP of client relations. The universe, it seemed, had a flawless sense of drama. I flew into Phoenix a week before the event, the dry heat and the scent of creosote bush hitting me like a forgotten dream. I worked out of a command trailer near the hotel. My days a blur of diagrams, radio checks, and briefings. I was all business. My Secret Service uniform a statement of absolute authority. On the night of the gala, the hotel was transformed. A glittering jewel under the desert sky. I was positioned in the main command post, a discreet room off the grand ballroom lobby. Monitors showing every angle, my radio alive with status reports. Part of my duty was a final walk through of the VIP reception area to ensure all protocols were seamless. As I entered the opulent, flower-filled anteroom, my eyes scanning for vulnerabilities, I saw them. My family. They were clustered near a marble column. My mother Eleanor in a beaded gown that looked expensive but slightly too young for her. My aunt Cynthia. My brother in an ill-fitting tux. And cousin Brad, puffing out his chest as he talked to a hotel manager. They were guests, not of the governors, but of a corporate sponsor. clinging to the frayed edges of the world they once thought they owned. They didn't see me at first. I was part of the security landscape. Another uniform. I continued my inspection, my voice calm as I pointed out a camera blind spot to a technician. It was my mother who recognized my voice first. Her head snapped around, her eyes narrowing, then widening in slow, disbelieving horror. She stared, her mouth slightly agape, as her brain tried to reconcile the image before her with the daughter she had dismissed. Her gaze traveled from my face, down the dark, tailored blazer with the distinct Secret Service shoulder braid and insignia, the perfectly knotted tie, the badge on my belt, the gun in its holster, the air of unquestioned command that emanated from me. It was not a server's dress. It was the uniform of one of the most elite protective agencies in the world. The costume was now the realest thing in the room. The reality of it, of me, hit her with the force of a physical blow. Her carefully constructed world, already cracked by their own reversals of fortune, shattered completely. Her hand flew to her throat. Her face, under the expertly applied makeup, crumpled like paper. The color drained from it, leaving a mask of ash and shock. Then, the tears came, not delicate, but a sudden, silent flood that streaked her cheeks. She made no sound, just stood there, trembling, her eyes locked on mine, filled with a bottomless well of regret, shame, and awe. My brother and cousin followed her gaze, their smug confidence evaporating, replaced by a stunned, fearful confusion. Brad actually took a step back, as if my authority was a force field. I held my mother's gaze for one long, final moment. My expression was not one of triumph or smirk. It was the calm, neutral professionalism of an officer on duty. But in that calmness was the full weight of my journey, my silent victory. I gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod, an acknowledgement of the closure, not for her, but for the ghost I had been. Then I turned as my radio called, "Command, status check on the south portico." And I answered, my voice steady and clear, "Command copies, south portico secure." And I walked away, back into the flow of my duty, my back straight, my stride purposeful. The sound of the gala fading behind me. I did not look back. For the first time in my life, there was nothing behind me I needed to see. The revenge was complete. And it had been executed without a single word of confrontation. Through the simple, majestic power of becoming, I had taken their mockery, their ceiling, and built a palace of purpose and respect upon it. Standing guard that night, under the same Arizona stars that had witnessed my humiliation, I felt a deep, unshakable peace. The journey from the server to the officer was the only testament that mattered. A story written in silent tears, relentless discipline, and the quiet, unyielding strength of a woman who learned that the most powerful revenge is not to destroy your detractors, but to outbuild them. To rise so high in your own integrity and purpose that their former taunts simply become the dust far, far below your polished shoes. And in that quiet ascent, you find not just victory, but a profound and everlasting freedom.